Guys, for the lack of my video to start the show because something happened with technology. You gotta love it. Sometimes it just tests you to your most, it just tests you. And today is one of those days. So I'm going to smile and laugh through it and say, I'm so happy to see you. I missed you last week and I'm glad I'm here with you today. So today our guest is Temple Hayes. Temple is a rebel, renegade, and resurrected 1,000 times. Oh my God, does that not resonate? Temple Hayes is a spiritual trailblazer for our time. Raised in South Carolina, she was born to question everything. Why must everything be just as her Southern Baptist family told her it should be? And during a heartbreaking childhood and a traumatized youth, she turned to a new understanding of spirit to pull her from her car wrecks of alcohol addiction, and through a conversation, Temple forged a new life from the ashes of her day-to-day death, a life that embraces bringing others to this realization and opening their hearts. Temple is an accomplished and practicing shaman. She is a catalyst for turning lingering sorrows into brighter tomorrows and restoring all parts of the soul. Now, the spiritual leader that she is revered internationally and a key member of the Leadership Council of the Association of Global New Thought. Her new book, When Did You Die?, is anchored in her work to fast forward people to impassioned and energized living. She has also authored How to Speak Unity and The Right to Be You. She is also a radio host of her popular radio show, The Intentional Spirit, which reaches millions around the world. Welcome, Temple. How are you?
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you for sure. And thank you for everything that you're doing and
Thank you.
your commitment to being the voice for spirit guiding us in our humanity.
We have to do this together. It's a mutual
Yes.
consciousness, and it's a mutual raising, and we're supposed to be of service.
hmm
Those not awakened yet don't realize that they need to be of service, and it's not just about what they're going through. And that's why we're both doing what we're doing. And I have to tell you, when I read, your bio where it says rebel, renegade, and resurrected 1,000 times, it resonated my life.
Mm.
Because how many of us haven't been leveled a few times in the course of our life where we really needed to research who we are and try to get through that dark night of the soul. And let's talk
Absolutely.
about your challenge. I mean, in your bio it says traumatized, heartbreaking childhood, traumatized youth. And I don't want to. You can give the bridge version if you'd like, but
hmm
to tell, I just like to share with people like how they started where they were to get where they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for me, I've come to understand that we are born the one time, and then we continue to be created by our creator many, many, many times. So it's not a one-time event. It's evolutionary. It's happening all the time. For me, being born in a small town with small minds, they were kind people. But in a small town, I think it's important to make the distinction. I live in a small town now outside of Santa Barbara, but they're people, Dr. Marla, that have traveled all over the world. So they're very broad in their understanding of life, of humanity, of cultures, etc. I was born in a small town that most people moved 2 fences down and live near their parents and their grandparents. So here comes, Temple Ann. And when I was 5 outside, I get this download that you are here to serve God. You are a messenger. And I don't know that the word was messenger. That seems like a lot of syllables for a 5-year-old. But I got the message that I was here to represent God. And that I got, it was cemented within me. And people would say, well, you're so blessed. You're so lucky. Well, I would be toted over to the Southern Baptist deep rooted church, sit by my grandfather and listen to how I was unworthy. I was a sinner. I was awful. I was going to hell, and it's like, it's so incongruent with what I felt. And I would sit, and sometimes even as a kid, I would weep like, this is not natural. This doesn't resonate, you know. And so I would act out and, of course, get in trouble because my soul knew that for me, that was not my message. But yet the incongruency was that my relationships started out in my comfortability, more of a feminine connection. I was more comfortable with women than I were men because of the men that I was exposed to. Thus, to shorten this story, my first relationship was with a woman. She was older than I was, and my father walked in on us in an intimate way, and I'm carted out to the mental health center. And back
Oh,
then, in a small town, you disappeared. You got taken away. You got those barbaric shock treatments and all that.
oh,
So
geez.
and that all is extremely factual. And so I
Mhm.
just started closing down. So because of my being abandoned by my family, people looked at me different. I'd go into the family reunions, etc., and there was no contact anymore. And because you're a sensitive old soul spirit, you feel these things, and it's like, oh God, there she is. Let's tighten up, or I hope she doesn't flirt with me. Or a misunderstanding about gay people is like we hump everything that we
Yeah.
can. It's just cray cray. But anyway, so short of that, I started abandoning myself. So at 14, I took all the abandonment and I apparently
The
don't
pain.
fit here to not fitting here. And I went on this journey of drinking for like 15 years. I gave it the best I could. I really did. I gave it the best I could. People say, they put so much energy in being famous. I said, I've already been famous. And the audience gets real quiet, like, oh God, she's full of herself. And I go, yeah, I was famous when I was a teenager because every highway patrolman, every policeman knew my car and knew me by my first and middle and last name.
That is so funny. Yes, I was very well known.
I'm very well known.
Counties wide. Wow. But that must have been so challenging, and bringing that into your experiences with not romantic but relationships with friends, because how many true friends could you have when you're being ostracized by your community?
That's a huge point you just made right there, because when that happens in a person's life, and it's happening to people now, the second rate of suicide is ages 10 to 32. So when one feels in that village, that tribe that they're in, that they are not okay and that they are broken and that they are a mistake, it doesn't matter how metaphysical you were. I didn't become metaphysical because I found a metaphysical community when I was 19, or it found me. It really saved my life because it was
Yes.
the first time in my life, Dr. Marla, that I heard that I was God's beloved, that I was cool.
Mm.
I'd never heard that before. But that being said, yeah, when you feel shut off like that, then you stop sharing, and you don't understand why people don't love you full out. It's because you're not loving yourself full out, and you're holding back, and you're hesitating with who you are. And that
Yeah.
would be what it was like, like if we were going back then and you would say, tell me about you, and God, you have so much energy and you're so fun, and your husband must really, have fun with you. Quiet, change the subject, put on my headset, start reading a book. Like, I can't go there with you, and that's what happens to people. They carry that sensation of being broken in various situations, whatever they may be. And so there's this hesitancy and the inability to totally trust life. And
Yeah.
and so people don't understand that you might have that sensation of whatever that is the rest of your life. I mean, there's some Baptists that have sensations because they got a divorce. They
Right.
apologize for, oh, no, 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 this isn't my first marriage. No, no, no. It's the understanding that that gut feeling may always be there, but you keep going, and you keep sharing and you keep living and you keep loving. I will say that, for me, I can't, because I needed to understand it. I needed to understand the incongruency of how could God had created me and said, "Oh, you're being shaped for something," and at the same time make everything so problematic and dysfunctional. And then I understood, which I would go on to teach people now. If you say you want to have a great work, you want to make a difference in the world, you want the world to be a better place, how are you going to do that if you don't have any experiences?
Right.
How are you going to do that if you don't have any issues or challenges that you've overcome? And so I understand people struggle with not just alcohol, but with sugar, which is sometimes the reason, the dysfunction, the not being. So you become an enlightened rebel because you've had experiences that becomes your life work.
It's so true. And I have to tell you, tears welling in my eyes when you're talking about your story, because here, these, whatever community, whether it's Catholic, Christian, Southern Baptist, Jewish, Muslim, whatever, they sit there and talk about love and forgiveness and this and that, but they don't they don't walk their talk,
No,
because you don't fit into their ideal or their mold or their ego vision, because it is an ego vision. If someone's going to tell you who to be, how to be, then it's somebody's ego telling you, because it doesn't fit with it. And
absolutely.
when it's your own immediate future, I mean family, it's heartbreaking. And so from there, did you become a shaman first? Did you like step into shamanism before?
Mhm.
How did you like
No, I
get into your
became
path?
I became an overachiever.
Okay.
I'm gonna earn my place on the planet, so I became an All-American softball player. I didn't wanna just be a person who could give a talk. I wanted to be a speaking coach. I mean, everything that I could possibly sign up for. I wanted to overachieve, to win the trophies, to prove my worth on the planet. And along the way, along the journey, when I was 38 years old, there was a woman who her husband had dropped dead in their backyard, and he was like 42, and
Oh
they were getting
wow.
ready to go on a sailing trip. And so I said, I want to come and I want to support you and hold space with you. And it was a fascinating experience for me because I grew up with great grandparents, grandparents. I grew up with cousins and uncles that had died, a whole list of people. So I knew what death in a community with a group of people or in a family looks like. You turn gray. You look like you've been hit by a truck.
Right.
Um, just as a metaphorical way of that, because you're in shock. Because fortunately, we are designed in our humanity to be anesthetized so we can cope with the level of pain that we're feeling. So people look spooked. There's a lot of people that look like that right now after COVID. I
Yes.
call it COVID toast. They're there, but they're not really in their integrated and soul retrieved in their bodies right now. And anyway, that being said, so this woman, she was like you and me. She was like, thank you for coming by, and
Yeah.
I'm like, what is up with you? If you don't mind my asking, your energy is so different. She said, well, I somebody gave me the name of a shaman and I reached out to her, and she looked at my life and she looked at incidents in my life where I had lost my energy. And Temple, she put it back in. She put it back in. Well, the moment she said that, I clicked into the memory of who I am. Because the me that I had been for all those years, I would have said, give me her number. I'm calling her today and I'll have an appointment as soon as I can get in with her. I
Right.
just went, that sounds interesting. if spirit, so I went back to what you teach. If this is mine to do, spirit will show me.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
So what happened was that I had a group during a summer. I was between spiritual communities, and I had a group called the Foundation of Great People. And we invited a woman to come in. I was out of town, and this woman talked about soul retrieval and shamanic work. And I
Yes.
said to the lady, wow, and that's the day I wasn't there. Give me her number. I call her up. She invites me to dinner immediately. On my way to her house, I got the guided spirit message through me that said, she's going to be your teacher. On my way to her house, she got the message, this is the reason you moved from Canada to St. Petersburg. She is to be your student. And
Wow.
we worked together for over 10 years, like 12 years we did.
How beautiful. And that's
Hmm.
where synchronicity, there were no
Hmm.
accidents. You weren't there, but you were meant to be with her. And she
Absolutely.
was meant to guide you.
Yes.
And now you're doing the work for thousands, hundreds of thousands of people from
It's
that.
been a journey. Yes, it's been a journey. And that's my life's teaching, is that when you're shocked, and those of you that are still in COVID toast, when you are taken back, when you've lost a loved one, when a pet has died, when those things happen, if you set an intention for yourself, you will have more energy than you did before the event. It will bless you with energy if you're willing to go through, as in you teach, the shadow, if you're willing to go through the depth and not just be a cliche, everything's fine, everything's wonderful, yada, yada, yada. You feel it and you reveal it. And because, especially people that are healers, we cannot heal what we are unwilling to reveal within ourselves.
And then I say it as, if you don't clean out your own closet, you can't help anybody clean out theirs. Same
That's
thing. Yours
right.
is very eloquently said.
That's
So,
right.
but it all has to do. You have to do your work.
Mhm.
Nobody can do the work without. If you don't, no one can do it for you, and you can't be ready to show up if you're not willing to face the stuff that you've already experienced, your
Yes.
traumas and dramas of life. So
Yeah.
it's amazing. Now you've written 3 books. The newest one is "When Did You Die?" Which is such a provocative title. Let's talk about the book and what it's about, because what you say, it's an 8-step program which guides readers through a simple belief examining process that will propel them to a healthier, more prosperous life. So that's a beautiful thing to tell, to let people know
Mhm.
that this is what this book is for. How did you
There
come up with the name? And let's talk about some of the pieces that are in the book,
oh,
some of the
well,
steps.
it's so funny, our similarities, because as of 38, from then on, because I had been sober, like, almost 10 years at that time, and now 35, which means I'm 42, so I don't want anybody to get
Yeah.
caught up in adding
Yeah,
those
let's not get
numbers.
confused.
But that right, exactly. But, so when I would go on these spirit journeys with my teacher, I would go into a deep meditation, and I would go the way of the shaman in the underworld, or it's called the non-ordinary reality. And so I would go and I would ask certain questions. I would always take a question to be intentional. And so it started happening that I would see like a woman on a boat, and she would have like a journal, and she would be writing with a pen, and she would go, you need to write, I mean, almost like bump on the head, like.
Yeah.
So that being said, so that was given to me to write, and the name of my book was to be When Did You Die? And of course, when I talked to publishing houses and I had someone represent me, a literary agent, they were like, that book's going to die because the title is not going to work. And I went, well, I have to do that title because that's what I was told to do. Because we need, there's so many layers in that. There's so many layers in that, because We all die if we're in a job we don't want to be in. We're in a relationship we don't want to be in. We die because we listen to the news, which is a small 5% of anything that's true about our
Right.
world, about our planet. Um, Die meaning, my thing of dying is energetically dying. We die when we buy into systems that say we're old. Um, Old is an opinion. It's fueled by pharmaceutical. It's to hook you in buying lots of products. Old, 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 old. Aging is natural. And as of
Yes.
now, this is what it is to be a human, is that we age, but we never have to be old. So we work with
Yes.
these systems and these paradigms of untruths that we have been herded through. I mean, cows are smarter than humans in so many ways. They know what it's like, and that we are herded and we pay attention to that we don't have enough, that we are broken. And because we're broken, we have to have these things to fix our brokenness. We have leaders all over the world that stand up in front of rooms and say, the world's crazy and the people in the world is crazy. Please stop. The world isn't crazy. The world is intelligent. The world is of an evolving God. The world is shifting. Nature did fine before we got here, and it would actually do fine if we would leave it alone
It
and
would do
stop
better.
trying to think that we know better, right?
Yeah, well, nature would do better, if we
Yeah.
left it alone. And like what happened during COVID. I mean, it was miraculous what happened across the world with, like even the dolphins swimming in the canals of Venice. COVID goes away. Now the Venice canals are drying up.
Yes.
I mean, it's mind-boggling how that whole
Yeah.
process works. And so, what happens if people don't consider themselves spiritual? How does the book help them?
Well, to me, that's the cosmic joke. I mean, here's the two questions I ask people when they tell me they don't feel spiritual. I go, this morning, when you open your eyes and you realize you were awake, did you have to push a button so that your lungs would work, so that you could breathe? Well, no. Okay. Well, did you have to go, heartbeat, please beat? Did you have to crank yourself up? Well, no. Well, where the heck do you think that came from? How can you deny a connection with something that created you, that keeps you breathing, keeps your heart beating, and will ultimately decide, unless you do it to yourself, when all that stops? So, how can one deny one's humanity? It's like you are spirit because you are made of the same things and physics. And this is the part that's fascinating. I was doing a little research for a talk I did last week. 87% of the people on the planet, almost 8 billion, have cell phones,
Yes,
and 67% of them have access to the internet, right?
yes,
How can people not know with physics that we are made all of the same things? It's just that we have the ability to see or not see what we want to see. We have free will and choice, but that is a very upsetting statement for me, because I'm like, hello.
Mm. Well, yeah, and what people don't realize that this humanness that we have, that's the shell. That's the temporary
Yeah,
part. Our inner light, our inner spirit, that keeps going. When you transition, when you pass away, the body, sheds itself like a snake. It sheds its
yeah,
skin.
yes,
But the spirit will continue to go on and on and on. And the beautiful thing is if you bring beautiful things into this world that you're living today, you will take that into the other side, and it will stay with you when you reincarnate the next time or the next time or the next time, and help you as you grow. And some people just have a really hard time wrapping their mind around a concept like that.
well, yeah. Or their heart is closed.
Well,
And a lot of times I think that when people say, well, I'm not sure I'm spiritual, I think they have it confused with the fact that we're not talking religiosity.
Right.
We're not talking about where you go to pray or, whatever your rituals are. We're talking about an essence of being. We're talking
Mhm.
about when Anthony Lawrence, who was in Africa, who was an elephant whisperer, who saved
Mm.
countless of thousands of elephants, how on the day he died, elephants came from miles and miles and miles and stood in front of his home, true story, and wept. That spirit, that's what connects us. It's like what Mark Nepo says, that what we reach for may be different, but what makes us reach is the same. And that is our capacity. And with our spiritual system, we have a GPS, a God personalized system that's our navigating system. I can listen to it and go,
Yes.
yeah, probably not drinking is a good idea since I've almost killed myself like 12 times. And since
Yeah.
all the highway patrolmen know me, that might be something, might be trying to tell me something. Duh. I can listen to my GPS and go, this is my path. And that's what it is. It's like in a car now where people put in an address in Waze or in their automobile and they don't want to listen to it. I'm not sure. Something about that doesn't feel right. And
Right.
I can be in the car with that person and I can go, have you ever gone here before? Well, no, but it doesn't feel right. And I'm like, well, how can you get upset with your navigator if
Hmm.
you don't do what it's telling you to do? And
Right.
that's what people do, that I'm sorry, is pathetic. They get angry at this creator or higher power. Well, look at how my life is. The creator didn't do that. The person did. Own responsibility. You didn't listen. You were told don't get in that relationship and you did it anyway. Or you were told to not take the drink or don't eat sugar or, whatever it was. So, anyway, it's a
What
fascinating journey.
It is a fascinating journey, and I love that you brought up responsibility because so many people, and I'm not trying to be controversial, but they don't want to take responsibility. They
Mhm.
don't want to own their part in whatever is going on in their world, and it's always outside of them, but never inside of them.
That's right. That's
And
right.
and so when you start looking inside and taking the self responsibility, you will then start seeing things with a different perspective, in my opinion. What do you feel?
I think your opinion is powerful. And you're spot on. I mean, my little saying to myself, because I love sound bites, is when I blame, I do not claim. And
I
I
love
I
that.
say anywhere I speak, if you're over 30, stop being pathetic and blaming your parents. Give those people a break. It's time for you to take some ownership in your own life and get real with what's true and come back to a place of being responsible, come back to the inherent part of yourself, that you're not broken. I mean, that's
Mhm.
where we really shift. It's when we get back to, like me at 5, of out in
Yes.
nature, of spirit saying you're here for a reason. That's not just me, that's everyone. So when you come from a place of you are whole, you are holy, it doesn't mean that you don't have issues. It doesn't mean that you don't have to go to the dermatologist. It doesn't mean all of those things, that you are a human being. But the more spirit that you bring into your life, the more human you become,
It's so true.
right?
And you're much more generous than I am because I always say when you become legal, when you become legally an adult, you need to then start taking ownership for your decisions and stop blaming. You can blame them when
Mhm,
you're when you're a minor, but when you become an adult, that's part of being an adult, is taking responsibility for not what somebody might have done with you, but how you react to it and how you want to move forward with it. Do you want to carry all this baggage with you,
mhm.
or do you not? So I truly agree with that, but you're much more generous by giving it 30 years old.
Well, and the thing of it is that, and I like your idea for sure. In the space of what we're talking about, every time you are blaming something outside yourself, you're repeating it in your life, and you will continue to repeat it in your life until you settle it within yourself. Because as you said, and that is something that it's like, and people don't know that yet, and I'm sure you say that to yourself, and people don't know that yet. You can't live outside in. You have to live inside out. And when you know who you are, your core, then yes, things happen, external situations happen, but they don't have power over you unless you choose it. But when you're constantly referring to what your parents did, whether you're 18 or you're 38, or what happened or this and that story and this, it's like it's your fault now. It's
Right.
it's totally, on you because you're just with cause and effect. You're just creating that. It always has fascinated me when somebody gets in a relationship and they spend the first year of the relationship, aside from all the cutesy and flowers and sending
Right.
cards and writing letters, they tell each other about all the bad things they were in the relationship before. So all they do is set themselves up so they can repeat and generate that same story yet again.
It's true. It's funny. My husband and I have only been together I mean, I've known him my whole life, but 14 years. And I think about it and it's like, yeah, we did do that, but it's taking it, not owning it again and carrying it with you, but
Yes,
taking it and going, oh, I don't want this again. How do I change it to make this relationship different,
exactly.
positive, better?
Exactly. That's the
Yeah.
key. I don't choose to repeat this. And therefore,
Yeah.
when I'm having this sensation or this habitual response, I need to talk about it and share so I can see it, from a different perspective and see that life is for me, not against me. But we will, it's like, let's see, what was her name? Harriet Tubman? Is that
Tubman,
Tubman?
Tubman, Tubman.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You can tell we're not edited, everyone. We're
Yeah.
just sharing from our heart. She said, I could have freed a lot of slaves if more people realized they were slaves. And this is where we are. I understand it's
Yes,
a
that's
different way.
brilliant.
I understand it's for different reasons. I get we're not talking color here, but we're talking colors of life and colors of the spectrum, colors of the chakra system about, like you said earlier, being the light, the energetic presence that we are. We have not realized, especially in these last 20 years, how enslaved people have become from commercialization of healthcare, of billboards, of you're driving down the road in Florida. I haven't seen any here in California, but you're driving down the road, billboard. You're only 30 seconds from the emergency room. If your heart is pounding, turn right. Are you kidding me? This is the data, right?
Yes.
That people are putting in. I mean, people, when they say fill out the form or new dentist or we have to update our files, I say no, I will fill it out, but I want you to listen to me. What, Temple? What? I go, I am 64 years old and I don't take any medication at all. So it's not, hello, it's like, not to make somebody wrong if you have to have it, but the automatic that you have it and you don't question it and you don't wonder what people are giving you, we
Right.
become enslaved because we're not paying attention. And then we have to take anxiety medicine because the body's going, what is this? Why am I taking these 6 things? And people, on an average, people that are in their 60s, take 6 to 8 medications every day.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's very true. But I just want to hit one point. There's so many people who were not slaves who are slaves. They
Yeah.
weren't enslaved, but their life is they treat their life like they are a slave
Yes.
to their families, to their spouses, to them, to whatever, to their employer, whatever it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tell
And
me who I am because I don't know.
exactly, or their
Mhm.
position is who they are and not this individual that they look at in the mirror multiple times a day, if they look.
Absolutely. Well, we were laughing earlier before we started. People are fascinated with near death experiences, and I imagine they're pretty cool. But for me, I'm an advocate for near life experiences.
Yeah.
Waking up, not dying
Yes.
every day, believing in shifting the energy. My father taught me that when he died 21 years ago, because it was so shocking and unexpected that even though we know we're going to die, it's still shocking. It's
Yes.
still unexpected. In other words, his health had been a little questionable, but none of us felt like he was at that level. That being
Right.
said, though, when it happened, I went, I don't think I'll ever be the same. Something's happened to me. I feel I'm angry. I'm out of sorts, blah, blah, blah. And I got this guided spirit message that spoke through me that said, Temple, decide as a gift to your dad to have more energy than you've ever had. And that's what I did. Decide to create within yourself to have it more energy than you ever have, because that's not what society teaches us. Oh
No.
my gosh, if you just can make it as far as you have, you're a success story. It doesn't mean that you're not smiling, that your heart isn't open, that you don't care anymore. No, we lowered our standards so much, Dr. Marla.
Well, they
And
keep
it,
lowering the bar, don't they, to life? I
hmm
mean, people, and when I
yeah,
say they, I can't particularly pick and choose names of people, but there are many people out there that all of a sudden the bar is lower. You don't expect as much from children. I was talking to somebody recently. Children aren't taught manners, not
mm-mm,
the way they were when you or I were growing up, because I would bet dollars to donuts you were taught to speak politely to people, to
yep,
treat people with respect, and it goes along the way. Please, thank you. Basic courtesies that people tend to not teach their children. And
that's
how
right.
does that pay it forward? How does
Yeah.
that, so you could either fill the cup with paying it forward with beautiful things or not learning it and having an empty vessel next to you. But this changes. I don't want to change the direction away from your book and whatever.
Oh,
It's just what
wherever you want to
came to
go.
me. But
Yeah.
I want to talk. So there's um, eight segments to helping people. What are
Mhm.
they? What are the different
Um,
chapters?
well, one of those is, it's likened to the song, The Hokey Pokey, right? And
Yes.
ultimately, the song says, you put your whole self in, you put your whole self out, you put your whole self, you do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. And that
Yes.
is what it is about. I am whole, I am holy. You start there. I am not broken. Creator did not make me as an accident. And so when one starts affirming that, what doesn't belong can shift. And what I like to say is people say, well, I got to turn myself around first. How many people do you work with that tell you, well, I got to get this together first. I got to get my house in order first. I got to get this done first. I got to get the kid out to college first. And it's like, that's not what life is. That's called the waiting room of
Mm-hmm.
consciousness. It's about put your whole self in now. Here I am. I'm ready. I'm willing to say yes. Show me, guide me to what those next steps are. So it's important to realize with certain things that you've had happen in your life and maybe incrementally go through every 5 years. What occurred that, in your opinion, took away from you, right? And it's an important exercise. It's 15 minutes of your whole life.
I love that. It sounds
Right?
amazing.
Every 5 years incrementally, what occurred? What happened in your life? And what do you feel it took from you? And then go back and look at it from what did it give you?
Yeah.
So you can see the gift of all those things. It's about the necessity of dying. It's about letting things go. So dying isn't just an energetic dying. It's about things need to die. Your history, some of your stories, blaming your parents, things need to die. It's also about, Dr. Marla, getting real about this word called die. It's happening, people. And it's going to occur. And when we were little, I was telling somebody the other day, my grandparents, when they died, they brought their casket in our home, and we
Yeah.
were all sitting around eating from the buffet. Yeah, John's in there. How you doing, Grandpa? we were not desensitized like we are now.
Yeah.
And right?
Well,
And
and it's different too. Yeah, back in the day, that's what they used to do, and they would honor, and they didn't want the body to be alone
right,
so they brought him into the home.
right.
Where today it's a whole different
We're
way of,
separate from it. We're
yeah.
separate from it. People take their parents, check them into a space, and they don't have to see how it is in our humanity and the way that it looks. And so it gets back to the secret of life is not whether we live or die, is the parts of ourselves that we allow to die while we're living.
Oh, that's powerful right there. I'm going to put us on hold 1 second. It's charity shout out time and global peace workers.
Yes,
It's
yes,
your group. Let's talk
yes.
about it.
Global Peace Workers, founded in 2007. It's a 501c3 nonprofit. We've done all kind of things through the years. We've helped animals. We've supported elders and senior places. We've helped with a school in Haiti. Currently, we're working on several projects, but one of them is to help a new village in Kenya. And
Wow.
so they can go to templehayes.com/activism or templehayes.com, and you can
See
find it.
everything.
Yes,
See everything
yes.
temple.
But it's a lot of fun because it's very rewarding, because to me it's so helpful. Like this community we're working with in Kenya, just to give them some chickens and goats, and for them to then have a new chicken, and then they pass it on to the next family. It's very sustainable, and it's very powerful. So we often build slow, but we build in a way that will last. So it's really cool.
How can people help?
They can donate.
Okay. So the money,
Yeah.
cash, cash
Yeah.
is cash is helpful. Is there
Yeah.
anything else that they can do? Do you need physical volunteers? Do you need people to go and work with people or anything like that?
Absolutely. They can contact me through my website.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't want to use up too much time. This is so powerful and it's so needed. The
Oh,
global peace workers, well, it is,
yes.
and anything to help. That's why I have charity shout out, because everyone has a different passion in their heart where they want to help, something altruistic. And this helps so many people on different level, whether it's elderly, animals,
Hmm.
or less prosperous countries or
Well, that's
times.
that's what I learned years ago with the fundraising component. Some people don't want to give to children. Some people don't want to give to a foreign country. They'd rather keep it in the States. Some people would rather give to animals. So I've just, and it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to create this as a fundraising landing page. It wasn't like that at all. It really is, and this is what we go back to saying, and it's what you teach with guided spirit conversations, is that you are shape shifted if you allow it. You can resist, you can keep your heels. Oh, I can't believe that happened to me. You can be poor little pitiful me. Boo, boo, boo. Or you can say the things in your heart have shaped you to do the work. And so, in any ministry I've ever been involved in, I love children. Um, I love life. I have a great respect for life in all living things. And I'm a little further out there, meaning I can be kind of weird. My wife will go around people and go, "Don't let Temple see you kill that bug. It's not necessary. Tell her about it. She'll go pick it up for you." I was telling her the other day, I have so much more time because we don't really have bugs here.
How nice is
But
that?
I believe in life. I believe in the respect of life, whether it's people, it's the elder, regardless, it's the no matter the age. I believe everybody ought to have sustainable ways of life. It's like Buckminster Fuller said, there's enough to go around. It's just that the people that don't believe that, they take so much that the rest can't have. So it's
Yeah.
really a distribution, issue on our planet. So I'm I will get caught up in things. Not long ago, there was a red fox that a family in North Carolina, they had used one of those bear hunting things,
Oh,
right? Yes.
okay.
So we won't go any further than that, but that is allowed there, and
Mm,
I got into that, and I would not stop until they changed the law. I wrote the city, and I just kept on, and not just I, but movement on social media, because we can all do the one thing.
yeah.
We can do the one thing, right? And the more you give to life, the more life gives back to you.
It's so true. Well, it's like a
Hmm.
gratitude practice. The more you're
Yes,
grateful for whatever you're grateful for, you're going to get more of because you're grateful for it.
right,
But if you don't say thank you, guess what? They're going to, in their own way, turn their back and go a different way, in a sense. I mean, spirit always it wants to. It's hopeful. It wants you
right,
to be grateful.
right.
But when if it does that, it does it to prove a point, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Not to be, but to say, hey, why if you're not grateful for a blanket, then maybe you don't have a blanket.
Right, right.
When you take people who don't have these things, they're so grateful every single day that they could stay
Mhm.
warm, that they
Yes.
have food in their stomach.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
And and it's like people will spend tens of thousands of dollars to go somewhere to find their purpose. And it's like, you are your purpose. Pay attention to what knocks on your door. Pay attention to the Nextdoor app when somebody says, my dog got out. I can't find him. Write the person and say, can I help? I mean, this is not hard.
right.
It's like we have authors that write about helping humanity, and they won't even speak to you if they see you in the grocery store.
It's so true.
It's
That's a whole
crazy.
nother topic
It's
of
a whole
conversation.
Well, let's have it sometime because it
I would
fascinates
love.
me. It's like, oh my gosh, But one thing I do want to say about my book is that it's not just another self-help, feel-good, touchy-feely book. I actually give exercises that help shift something. It's like people are afraid now. Okay, people are afraid. Okay, yeah, because we surrendered all our thinking capacity, and we let people tell us you're going to die. You got to go get a shot. You're going to die, and on and on and on and on. I'm not getting into that story. I'm just saying that
Right.
that,
We
that
give away
they
our
people
power a lot.
we totally, and then we're like, we can't choose gray. We have to choose black or white. You're either this or that. And we've been so divided. We don't even get the information. We just fight because we're angry, because we don't want to,
We're
we're red,
conditioned.
we're blue. Whatever happened to the word united? I
Right.
don't understand. We lost that word. We need to drop it because we're not. We're not
Right.
living that congruent peace. But all that said, the example, like, well, feel the fear and do it anyway. Well, how's that working for people? So
Right.
cliches are great. Sometimes sound bites, I think, integrate a new aspect of who we are. But I think we need to do some inner work, some deep work. It's like we talk about, like, if we have difficulty remembering someone's name,
Right.
I could repeat it 400 times and I'll still go, who is that? If I use an image
It'll
of
be
what
helpful.
that person, an image in my mind, I will never forget it. And that's ancient times, right? Cave people, they put images on the wall so they could tell the story. And that part of it works extremely well for us to do things like eliminate fear and things like that, is to create our own symbology that shapeshift us into a new reality. So I just wanted to put that out there. There's so many self-help books.
It's
But I just
true.
wanted to say that there's how to in the body of my material.
I love that because it's many of us. And here's the thing, this is where I want to let people know, and I'll talk for me, not for you, but as educated as I am and as much work as I've done with myself, I'm still human. And this, whatever it is I'm doing to heal, doesn't end because I have a degree. It
Mm-mm.
continues because life continues. And you're going to run in. Look at, I like to laugh about spirit's sense of humor because every once in a while it'll put another little challenge in front of you, not to hold you back, but for you to work through so that you can grow further and wider and expand and get brighter and just help yourself. And the more you do, the more you work through these little speed bumps or challenges, the stronger you get, the more you heal, and the more love you find for yourself.
Absolutely. And so you can really practice compassion, which means come pass it on. That's what compassion is. So you have something you walk through, and you go through it, and you do the work, and you address your shadow and all that. And then before you know it, a couple of months later, somebody else is going through something almost identical. I don't think we can say, I know how you feel. I feel for you. I had
Mhm.
something similar. I'd be glad to share it with you if you'd like to know what I did. And that's how the ripple effect, how it continues on, you
And
know?
then as spirit supports us, we pass that along. We support ourselves, and we
Yes,
then help people learn how to support themselves as well. We can support others, but teach them how to support themselves. And I think
absolutely.
we only have a
Absolutely.
we only have a couple minutes left. What have I not brought up? What have I not brought out for people to hear that you really want them to know about? Temple Hayes and your writing and your work.
Well, I think we've covered a lot, and I really have enjoyed holding space and being with you today, and knowing more about your work is it's really cool. But I would finish with one thing that I actually thought, when I became sober 35 years ago, I thought, wow, no more problems. So here's the illusion, and here's the reality. I still have problems. I just get to feel them. And I get to witness them, and I get to remember them, right? But the other part is that I thought, well, the more spiritual I become, I'll just get away from my humanity and just be in nirvana and just float along through life. The more spiritual we practice, and we claim that, even though there's the spiritual of who we are, there's the spirituality of involvement called choice to build upon that. But the
Yes.
more you become spiritual, and we did allude to it early, I just need people to understand the more human you become. So if you're hearing about something that happened in Iraq, or you're hearing about children at a school and you're weeping, it's not just menopause. It's the fact that your humanity is weeping for things that are going on within our culture. Animals are having more and more difficulty now because they
Yes.
feel it. They're picking up this vibration. And so, and so, and
Well,
so.
and so, and I hope that our light continues to stay brighter and we get more people to turn on their lights so
Absolutely.
that we can, because if more light comes on, the dark goes away and all these things, they are going on in this world, which are
Totally.
so powerful for people, humanity, and everything, for water, for food. I mean,
Yes,
the way things are going, if we don't make the change, it's going to change us,
totally.
and not for the better. We need to become awake and aware and mindful
Yes,
and bring our compassion and our love, not just for others, but for ourselves, forward in our journey.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Temple, I have so enjoyed having you on. I'm going to have Bridget set up another time for you, and at a future date, because this conversation is not over.
I would
Um,
love that. That would be great. I would love that. I've enjoyed I like and love being interviewed by and with people that are not. Well, that's a very good question. Well, question 3 is, I love just being live and organic and allowing, exactly what you do. And that impresses the heck out of me, is that you are living out loud your brand, right?
Thank
You
you.
are going with spirit. Spirit's telling you what to ask, where to go. And I thank you. It's so refreshing.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to
So
hear
refreshing.
because all I try to do is show up and get whoever's on the other side to share, because I want those listening, watching to be able to take away, inspiration, motivation, which I promised you would be able to give them. And you did not disappoint, in my opinion.
Oh, thank
But,
you.
because I did in my announcement say, you will walk away with a lot more than you had when you came here, just from the conversation.
Mm,
And we have to remind them to pick up your book, When Did You Die? Because, and of all that you have in there, that feels to me like a different way of addressing the issues and wounds that we pick up through
yes.
our lifetimes.
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
there's a lot in the book. It's close to 400 pages, so there's
Wow.
plenty of material and processes they can go through, and I believe, I know they will benefit from some of the processes that are listed in the book. I gave what helped me. Okay, I didn't
Yeah,
go, "Let me
absolutely.
do this because it's trendy. Let me talk about intermittent fasting because it's the new buzz." I went with, how am I different because I did these processes and someone taught me to take the time to do them. So,
And how did I heal the
right.
wounds and the hurts that I've had, which we pick up
Mhm.
along with what people impress on us and imprint on us, because that's their beliefs, their judgments, their opinions, and they want you to be in there. Back in 2015 and 16, I can't tell you how many people didn't want to be quote unquote friends with me because I didn't see things the way they did. And I said, please explain it to me, open, enlighten
Mhm.
me so I can see your point of view. It just makes a huge, huge difference.
It
But
does, it does.
we will continue this, Temple, and thank you so much.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
for all you do and continue. Bridget, Bridget, what can I say to you, about you? Thank you. Thank you not
Mhm.
only for what you do for me, how you help the guests for Guided Spirit Conversations, so that they're able to come on and show up and be technically perfect for us to the best of their
That's right,
ability and our ability and
that's right.
technology's ability. So thank you for all you do, right hand, left hand, you know that. I want to thank you, the listening audience, for taking time out of your life and out of your day to be a part of this show. As you hear me say all the time, this was created because Spirit nudged me to bring you people, the most amazing people across the globe, who can bring you insights and information and guidance to help you in your life's journey to get stronger, to heal through it. And I don't think today disappointed. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If you like the show, like it, subscribe to it. Please review it. Let me know what you think. And if you have either a technique or a practitioner that you would like to see on the show, please email me at guidedspiritconversations@gmail.com, and we will do our best to accommodate you. So thank you for that. I'm going to leave you by sending you love, blessings, and gratitude. I'm grateful that you're in my life in whatever capacity you're in it, because not only are you my student, you are my teacher. Not only am I a teacher, I am your student. So thank you. And these three words, I love you. You are loved, not just by me, not just by your family and friends, but you've got a whole cheerleading squad on the other side of the veil who just want the best for you. Remember to talk to them, ask for what you need, want, and desire, and then be open to how it shows up for you. I'll see you next week. Our guest is Lisa Silverman, who is a psychic medium and interior designer. It's going to be a fun and colorful show. All right. Take care. Have a great week.